Okay, we are still on Wednesday, October 30th, 2025. This is another property on my list of 91 I told you I was going to look at. So the one I showed you in previous video, in introductory video, is the first one among the list. This is about the 20th or so I'm going to look at. I didn't keep exact track, but roughly speaking, I have more to look at than I haven't yet. So I just found this property. It was on my list, and I just parked. You can't see my car from here, my SUV. So there seems to be a couple of RVs in this property. There is one there. There is one here. And then there is a third one. I don't know if it belongs to this property or to a different property. There is an RV there. Seems like that one seems in good condition. It's probably maybe somebody's living in there. Anyway, this is the second video of Millionaire Squatter channel, but it's the first video of my first course, which I call Squat Your Way to Millions. Millions with an S. Now, I'm not actually going to pretend that I'm going to teach you how to make millions by squatting. I'm only going to pretend that I'll teach you how to make $1 million, again, assuming you are 14-year-old. And I will explain down the road why it takes time. But I like the title. Seems kind of more catchy. Squat Your Way to Millions, as opposed to Squat Your Way to $1 million. So let's see whether or not the door is open. I haven't tried this one yet. So first thing, it's always a good idea to knock and not assume that it's vacant. You don't want to just walk in and be shot. You want to give them a chance to get their shotgun first. Hello, George? George is the name of the owner of record. I'm not going to tell you his last name because I like to keep that secret. So always knock on the door, give people a chance. So anyway, before I open the door, let me tell you something. So this is the first video of the course called Squat Your Way to Millions. It's going to have 30 videos in it. This is going to be short because it's about the legal foundation, and I'm not the one who's going to teach you the legal foundation. I'm going to put links below the video, so check for links. If you happen to check this in 2024, I may not have gotten around to putting a link yet, but I had found a great video on YouTube. I need to find it again. It's a lawyer teaching law students about adverse possession. Now, adverse possession is a state law, so every state is different, but there is a lot of common because adverse possession comes from the common law in England. So it's a law that existed for hundreds of years, and then each state has its own variation. So if I remember correctly, the video I'm going to link, I will link at least one video. I may put more than one link, so don't just stop at the first link. But the one I have in mind is, I believe the professor is a lawyer in Texas teaching law students about adverse possession. I don't remember whether or not his course was Texas specific or not, but at the very least had all the foundations. And while each state is a little bit different, the foundations are roughly the same. So I'm gonna put a link, and if you don't find it the first time, bookmark the page or put a note to yourself to come back in a month. You should find at least one link to a lecture by a lawyer explaining adverse possession. Now let's see. Okay, this is closed. So you don't want to break in because it will change it from a misdemeanor trespassing to a felony breaking and entering. And even though eventually I'll hire a locksmith, but this is not as nice as the first house I found, so I'm not gonna squat this one anyway. Fortunately, unlike quantum particles, I can only be in one place at a time. So I'm only going to squat one. So anyway, basically the main purpose of this lecture called Legal Foundation is to put links below the lecture. So basically the main purpose has already been served. Now I'm just gonna ramble a little bit. If you want to see the second property. I hope there are no snakes in here. I can't see much. see if there is anybody living in the RV. Hello? George, are you there? Hello? This is log 2. Yes, you may have been wondering in the introductory video, I said I'm assuming you have an IQ between 120 and 150, and you might wonder why you need such a high IQ to squat a house. You may be thinking that you've heard of many people low IQ that are squatting houses. The reason you need that, it's not that you need to squat a house, it's you need to learn from me. That's because when I told in previous video, I told you that I came to Cochise County armed with 91 leads of properties, and those leads didn't fall from the sky. I didn't wake up one morning, open my door, and found 91 addresses of houses to come look at. I generated those leads using, I started with the list. I started with the list of that was published by the Cochise County Treasurer of 3,767 properties for which the owners hadn't paid the 2022 property taxes. That list was published in January 2024, so 9 months ago. And one of the exercises you will do in this class, no, not in this course, actually in this course, yeah, after I've explained the legal foundations, more exactly after a lawyer having explained the legal foundations, is you will try to work on that list without any software, and you will see that by the time you get to the 10th one, if you are anything like me, you will get a headache, you will not find anything interesting, and you will be a little bit demoralized. That's what happened to me. Not the first time I got the list of 10,000 tax ID numbers. That was from Oklahoma County in Oklahoma, and I started looking for something, not something to squat at the time. I was looking for something to buy a tax lien on. By the time I got to the 9th one, I had a headache. I was tired, mentally tired, and I haven't found anything interesting, and there was still 9,991 leads to go. So you don't want to do that. If you do that, it'll take you forever. By the time you find it, other people like me, smarter people like me, will have gotten to it first, and the deal will be gone. So I will teach you how to write a Java program to process that list. Now that will be a course in itself. It will be introductory. It will be called Introduction to Java Programming for Professional Squatters. So I had already programmed. I had been working on my spare time on a Java program for the last 20 years. No, it won't take you 20 years to do it. You can do it in about a year, assuming you are smart and you don't know any programming. And you will learn Java programming in the process, so that if you decide that squatting houses is not the right business for you, you can use those skills to get a job. So yeah, and in order to learn Java from me, you need to have an IQ of 120 to 150. Probably if you have under 120, you shouldn't be learning Java. You will have terrible time competing against other programmers, and hopefully you have other qualities not related to IQ that will help you pursue another profession. So that's one thing. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the reason I said you need a higher IQ. You can work the list without any program, but it'll take you forever, and smarter people will have gotten to it before you do. Let's see. Yes, there was when I arrived, there was a fenced gate. You can see it there, and it seemed like it was locked. There was a lock and chain around it, but as I pulled the chain, it came off right away. So somebody must have opened the lock. Let's see. There is. Did I look at this? There is a truck, ABF truck that rings a bell. Maybe it's not abandoned. Somebody left. Is this a truck or is this something that cannot be driven? Well, it doesn't seem like it's working. Let's see if they left. If they left furniture, that means they plan to come back. I mean, nice furniture, not like the one we found in the first house. I hope there are no snakes here. See, it's legal for snakes to kill me, but it's illegal for me to kill rattlesnakes in Arizona. So let me see if they left any valuables. It means they're probably planning to come back. And now this is locked. So this is a sign. That's a bad sign. The fact that this is locked, it's a bad sign. It means maybe they're planning to come back. So I need to do some more research. I cannot squat this one anyway because the first one is nicer, probably worth more. But I don't like public homes anyways. So this is the reason for the high IQ. The second, I said in a video, this is for guys, not for girls. And here's why. This is a high risk, very high risk. You may end up in prison, business. And it's not just theoretical prison. I've heard of people going to jail or prison after they tried adverse possession. Because I'm here illegally now. I'm not here. This property has an owner, wherever he is. Even if he's dead, maybe he has heirs in New York or wherever, or in Europe, and I'm here without their permission. And I'm gonna put evidence of my crime on YouTube for all detectives to see. So this is worse than what Sarah Boone did when she filmed killing her boyfriend. At least she didn't put it intentionally on the internet. So this is high risk, high potential reward business. And I'm back in my SUV now. At least I don't have to worry about rattlesnakes. Yeah, it's illegal to kill rattlesnakes in Arizona. Don't ever do it. Or if you do it, don't post it on YouTube like I do with my crimes. So this is high risk, high reward, which is not suited for the psychology of women. Now, there are 2 billion women in the world. Does that mean that it's not suited for any of the 2 billion? No. It's not suited for 80 to 90% of them. So if you are an exception, if you are a tomboy, you like risks and stuff, you may want to go for it. The second thing is, don't try to do adverse possession in a city. Here's why. If any property gets abandoned by the owner in a city, there are gangs, there are homeless people in the city. They will know about it before you do. And if you find it still vacant, the odds are it has been squatted before and then the police came and kicked them out. And if you squat it, by the next time they come, maybe that's their second, third, fourth, or 10th time, they may have run out of patience by then and throw the book at you. So don't squat in cities. If you look here around me, you see this is not a city, this is a rural area in the middle of nowhere, just like the first one was in the middle of nowhere. These are the kind of properties that may be vacant without gangs or homeless people squatting them. So this is the ones you want to go after. So for guys, it's okay. Even for guys, I never owned or even touched a gun before, but when I squat the first property, I'm gonna learn how to shoot a gun and buy a gun. That's because you are in the middle of nowhere where the sheriff's department are far, and if you are as TB-addicted as I am, you know, when people escape from prison, they typically go into like abandoned area, rural area, and sometimes try to break into a house themselves and stuff like that. So it's safer even for a guy to own a gun, but for a girl it's just too risky. If a girl has an IQ of 120 to 150, there are much better opportunities for her. So this is the reason. So it's the risk first of going to jail or being harmed by others in rural areas. Let's see. What else did I want to say in this video? So I'm filming this the same day as the first video, but I haven't uploaded the first one yet because I don't have a internet connection yet. I'm gonna have internet connection starting tomorrow evening. So, but I will wait after that. After I upload the first one, I'm gonna wait a week before uploading this. The reason why, from what I heard, is that YouTube algorithm rewards people who upload every week. And since I'm often too busy to film and stuff like that, I will go through dry spells of not producing many videos, probably because I don't have much to say or I'm busy with other things. So during those dry spells, I need to have a backlog of videos to upload to YouTube. So I will probably upload the first one November, the one I took earlier today, November 1st, so in 2 days. And then I'll probably wait a week. So you may see this uploaded around November 8th, but it's taken the same day, October 30th, 2024. So click on the link or the links below. Make sure you listen to the lectures of the lawyers that I put links to about adverse possession. Now, once you've listened to all of them, then you won't be done with the Learning Lingo Foundation. Then I'm going to comment about those lectures. The reason I'm going to comment that it didn't seem to me that any of those lawyers are squatters, so they know theory, but there are some practical issues that come up that even I remember I only have about 15 minutes of experience squatting. I told you I was going to squat at house 24 hours, but then I didn't want to stay there during the day when with nothing to do, with no TV, no radio, no nothing. So I decided to come look at other properties on my list, and then I'll go there tonight. I'll go there around 5 or 5:30 p.m. and then spend the night. So there are some practical issues so far. I have no experience myself, but that I thought about. And so I will add some comments about the lectures that you will hear from the lawyers. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Even if you know me personally, don't ask me questions personally. Just ask them in the comments, and then I will answer them in the comments. Don't say my name if you know me personally. I don't want to say my name because I want to keep it more or less confidential what I'm doing, except from people who I know and somewhat trust. And that's because I don't want you to find actual properties. So I'll give you information you need. I told you Cochise County. What matters about Cochise County is that it's a rural county. So don't, if you're trying to squat in Arizona, don't try to squat in Maricopa County. That's it has big towns. Even if you go a little bit away from town, it's more likely that properties will be found out by gangs or other homeless people or things like that. So generally the best place to invest in real estate, and this is a form of investment in real estate, is in your state. Now, the method I'm going to teach you to find leads only works in about 25% of the states. I'll get into that when I teach you about how finding leads. So if your state is not one of those, you may want to go to a neighboring state, but don't try to come to Arizona just because that's where I'm doing. I'm not doing it in Arizona because it's specifically better than other states. It's because it's close to California, and California doesn't meet. When I teach you how to find leads, you will see that method doesn't work in California. So I don't have leads in California. I have an idea about how to find leads in California, but it's very complicated, and I probably won't teach it. I'll keep that to myself. But as you can see right now, even though I have been thinking about this for about 2 decades, it's the first time I squat, but I've been thinking about it for about 2 decades. I don't have on hand a method to find leads in California. You can find them by chance. I heard once somebody found out that in Orange County, some European who had no heirs in the US died, and the house was vacant, and that he's going to squat it and hope to acquire it by adverse possession. And actually, if you can find one of those by luck, that's great, because California is a great state for adverse possession. You only need to squat the place, follow the things that the lawyers will teach you in the links below, and then you only need to do that for 5 years. You have to pay property taxes, improve the property and stuff like that, but you only have to do it for 5 years, and that's the shortest definite time I found in the U.S. Now, Arizona, when did I look up this? I looked this up about 8 months ago. I think you can do it as short as 2 or 3 years, but there are a lot of conditions to be met to do that. It's typically 10 years. It can be 13 years. The law in Arizona is complicated, and eventually I'll talk to a lawyer after I've squatted for a while, but I haven't talked to a lawyer yet. So Arizona is complicated. I'm hoping to acquire the one I showed you in 5 years, if not 5, 10, but even 13 would be worth it. Now, there are states where it's like 20 years. Don't do it in a state that's like 20 years. If you're just looking for a place to live, that's fine. You can live in a place. But if you want to make $1 million, at some point you need to become the legal owner, sell that property, and go on squat another property. Unless you're lucky enough to find off the bat property that will be worth $1 million after you live there 20 years. So the reasons you may want to go out of your state is that, number one, the method I will teach you to find leads only works in about 25 of the states. It doesn't work in 25 other states. The second, if that method works, but you have to hold the property like much more than 10 years, like 20 years or so, then that may not be a very good idea if you want to make $1 million. So you may want to go, but if you do go out of state, go to a neighboring state, because it's easier to drive. You see, I drove my SUV here because I came from California to Arizona. That's not too far. If I wanted to squat in Vermont, I'd have to fly without my belongings or drive, for days, stuff like that. And there's no specific reason for me to squat in Vermont. So generally, each state has pros and cons, and one of the things you have to consider is that easy for you to move in, easy for you to move out back if you get kicked out of the house, hopefully without going to prison, and things like that. So put your questions in the comments. Even if you know me personally, put them in the comments. Don't mention my name, even if you know me, and then I will answer in the comments. If you text me the questions, I will not answer them. I would just reply to you, ask it in the comments. So save yourself some time and just go ahead and ask it in the comments. Okay, I'm going to sign off. What time is it? It's around 3 p.m. So I'm gonna go look at a few more properties, see what I can find, and then go back to the house one. So I'm gonna call the one I showed you in the introductory video is house one. This is mobile home one. I'm gonna refer to this mobile home one. That I give them numbers. That way, when I talk about them later, you know which one I'm talking about. Okay, so subscribe if you haven't already done so. Click the join button if you haven't already done so. The bell. I don't know if it's the bell or it's called join. And then check out the description. Click on all the links I put there. Watch the videos from the lawyers, and then in my either in the next lecture or in subsequent ones. It may be subsequent ones, because if I found other vacant houses, I will show them to you, and I need to re-listen to those videos from the lawyers before I can comment on them. One of the first comments is what I told you, is that don't look in the city, look in rural. You won't hear that from lawyers, and again, that's because lawyers are not squatters. So the laws are the same within the state, city, or rural, but the practical things you have to think about is that if it's in a town, other people who know the place, well, unless it happens to be your neighbor who abandoned his house, and then you know about it before other people know, or one of your acquaintances who abandons his house. But if it's just a house sitting there like here, abandoned, if it's worth anything, squatters or gang members or something like that would have moved into it. And you don't want to be the 10th person to be evicted by the cops. They may not be so patient about it. Another thing, that's a question I have. If you have experience in squatting, let me know. Here is a question. I've heard of other people. I'm not the first one to make videos on YouTube about adverse possession. I'm not even the first non-lawyer. I was listening to this guy. I forgot his name. I forgot his channel name either. That was trying to acquire a house by adverse possession. And one thing he did is he didn't move into the house himself. He found a vacant house, and I don't know how much repair he did, but he put a tenant in there. And he told the tenant he can only move one bed, one couch, and one TV to the house. He cannot move any other furniture into the house. And that way, if somebody shows up, it's easy for a tenant to move out. You can, in theory, acquire a house through adverse possession, not by squatting it yourself, but by putting a tenant in there. Here's what I don't know though. What's preventing the tenant from not paying you the rent? Because one of the drawbacks of squatting a house is that if you put a tenant in there, the tenant doesn't pay you the rent, you can't evict him. So if you have, I guess one way you can hope that the tenant never finds out that you don't actually own the house and that you are just taking adverse possession of it, and then just pays you the rent for 5-10 years, whatever your state law requires for you to go and get a title to the house. But for me, I'd be concerned. For now, I wouldn't put a tenant in there because my assumption is that the tenant is smart enough to find out that I don't own the house and stop paying rent. Even though, so at least for the first one, for the best house I find to squat, I will squat it myself. If I find the second one, since I can only be in one place at a time, I may put a tenant in there. But right now I'm concerned. So if you have experience or knowledge in this area, put comments down below how to minimize the risk that the tenant finds out that I don't own the house and stops paying rent and just becomes the adverse possessor and eventually acquires the title himself. So actually, I would, if I find a second house, I would either put a tenant or use it as my second home. So I haven't decided quite that yet. I'm thinking about it as I talk about it. So when I said I'm going to put a tenant, that's what I was thinking, but it was 2 minutes ago. Now I'm thinking I would either put a tenant or use it as a second home, and then try to acquire a title to it that way. But that's something that I haven't resolved, and I've listened to many lawyers talk about that, but they mentioned that problem again because lawyers are not squatters, so they know the law, they know cases that came before the court, but they probably don't have these practical tips to give you. So that's why I'm going to spend a couple of videos besides showing you deals like this one, mentioning practical problems you will run into when it comes to adverse possession. So I'm going to sign off, going to look at other properties. If I find another property, I'll record another video and then upload it a week after this one is uploaded. And then mention whatever thoughts come to my mind. Now I better sign off and get out of here before I get arrested for trespassing because I'm here illegally.